Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 18 of our F1 2020 My Team career mode, where today we're here back for the Japanese Grand Prix. We head to Suzuka this weekend, obviously a track that in the past the AI have been very strong at, so yeah, I'm not too sure how well this weekend will go. However, coming into this one though, we have got a bit of a warning from the team, just saying currently we don't have enough money to afford our teammates' contract. Having a look, Jordan King is expecting $3 million out of us. Bearing in mind, so far this season, he's scored 2 points to my 113. Now, I'm more than happy to admit I've been quite lucky in a fair few scenarios this season, but he just is not living up to our current performance, that we'd expect out of him. And having a look at the driver market, we're seeing people like Verstappen and Bottas and Vettel now, and Daniel Ricciardo all around the 90 overall as well there. Further down, we've got people like Lando Norris at 80, Esteban Ocon 83, Sainz even I should say at 83 as well, who we have now got the acclaim level to be considering too higher there. You can see Albon for Red Bull, 80 rated. He's only level 10. George Russell 77 rated, Magnussen 79 rated, and then Jordan King is 71 rated. And he's expecting more. No, he is now a higher rating than Nicholas Latifi. In all fairness, he's 71 rated, but then you've got people like Jordan King, Nick de Vries even, who aren't that far behind him, who are much cheaper to be purchasing as well. So there are going to have to be some decisions made in the near future as to whether we do keep Jordan King. A big thank you to those of you that have sort of left your thoughts and feelings down in the comments below. So you can see we've tried to get a couple of driver perks potentially on board as well. We're going to get some resource points boost. We're going to get the media coaching boost. We're going to get the power mapping boost. And also the social media team boost. So we're going to go with all of those. We might actually go with the resource point income boosted by 25%. So yeah, we're getting a few upgrades on, but we do need to be careful, obviously, if we want to try and keep Jordan King for next season, which I'm not too optimistic about at the moment. Yeah, he's going to need to start performing in the final few rounds of this season. Yeah, you can see 71 rated. He's getting there, slowly but surely, but I need a bit more out of him, I'll be honest there. In terms, though, of the car, heading into this weekend, you can see we're still sat currently down in P10, but like I keep saying every week, basically now it's so close between, arguably, Ferrari all the way down and ourselves. There's not really a big step up in performance anywhere at the moment. I don't think we can get any upgrades on the car. Obviously, we've still got the powertrain upgrade and the aero upgrade. So we're going to try and earn some points and see if we can get the engine cover upgrade or the other engine cover upgrade on the car. So that's probably what we're going to roll with this weekend. So let's head then to Suzuka, ready for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. So, big news then as we head to Suzuka. Not often do I talk about this free practice, even I should say, but it looks like there's a proposed amendment to next year's technical regs. We will see changes to the ICE, hybrid system and components and the packaging within the car. That's an excerpt from a missive sent to all the teams. There's a good chance there are going to be power unit changes ready for next year. So until we know for certain, you may want to focus our upgrades on other departments. So that screams to me, with our power unit being the strongest part of the car at the moment, we're probably just going to try and farm points then, and obviously get ready to try and keep all the upgrades on the car, and then make progress that way around in the sport. Even if, sort of most teams lose 2-3 upgrades, it should really move us up the order there. So that is very interesting. So I think now, pretty much just by heading to Suzuka, the focus changes from earning points for chassis upgrades now completely towards earning points to keep the engine where it's at. It's all changing at the moment. As looking at the weather this weekend, it's meant to be a wet race, so we might have to gear the car towards that as well. Let's dive into this. Wonderful. It's only free practice, and I've already lost second gear on the practice gearbox, so I think we're going to need another one of those before this weekend is done with, which is not ideal, considering the amount of penalties I took last time out of Russia, but new Suzuka, it's amazing just how much one bump can change a circuit. The old final corner Casio triangle, just horrible bump, has finally been gotten rid of, and it is beautiful. now I can actually enjoy this track again. It's still very, very bumpy, to be honest. Apologies if a lot of that comes through on the wheel, as I forget about the first gear again. Through the final corner. Can we close back up the time? No, we can't. Oopsie daisy. 6,700ths off. Not good enough. Basically doubling our R&D points there takes us back over 1,200 on the whole. I need to double check to see if we'll get a grid penalty. Obviously, if we replace the practice gearbox, because if we do, then we may as well just put a whole fresh power unit in the car again. And then obviously, then we've got 2 engines. So obviously we can swap between now and the end of the year. We may as well. I always like to just try and take all my penalties in one hit, so obviously then we can just keep moving between the two in the final few rounds of the season. Strategy, you know, it's got to come into this at the end of the day. So yeah, 1,230 R&D points though. I'm looking at it, I'm going to guess we're going to need sort of at least 2,500-3,000 points to be able to keep all 10 upgrades that we'd already applied to the car. But yeah, in terms of the gearbox then, will we face a pen if we get it swapped? No, there's no penalty for that, so that's alright, we'll get that done. And let's therefore jump into qualifying here from Suzuka. Coming on to our first qualifying run then, Grosjean is just a little way up the road. Look at that final corner. You now can actually put the power down without having to worry about getting a ton of oversteer for no apparent reason. But yeah, anyway, let's see what we can do then. I must admit, the chassis feels good around here. It is obviously quite a chassis-orientated circuit with all the quick changes of direction. So as we head in towards the S's for the first time, no, I've messed it up still. Things you love to see. Coming towards the end then of our first qualifying run. It's been okay. Like I said, we made a few mistakes in Sector 1. But it should give us a rough idea of if the AI is still massively OP around this circuit. Nicholas Latifi a little bit in the way as we head in through the Casio triangle there. Just a little bit dirtier. Coming from the back of the Williams down towards the finish line. Though it's going to be a 28.8. 4/10 off the Williams. We need to find a whole lot more. Well, obviously it's only had 1 Grand Prix done through it, so it should still be very, very quick. Final couple of corners. That's been awful. We're just struggling to get into a rhythm around here. Up towards the finish line, it's going to be in just under a half-second improvement. That bumps us up into 20th, a second off our teammate. We need an absolute worldie if we want to get anywhere here. Here we go then. We got less than a minute on the clock for our final chance in Q1. Obviously, even if we get through to Q2, we won't have any spare tyres to be able to do much with. But let's see if we can keep it nice and tidy and get 1 good lap on the board, I beg. It's been a rough weekend so far here from Suzuka. But let's see if we can just try and keep it clean and tidy and get a bit more out. Maybe a couple more places. Oh, that's not been a good line. Able to keep the power in quite nicely, but just not able to find as much time as we need to. The grip he got through the deglers, though, is incredible. Tried to avoid the wheel spin. Like there was a few extra tenths. Come on, we're about 6 tenths up then. So far, this lap's been a whole lot tidier. We just need to keep it nice and clean through the Casio triangle, and also obviously through Spoon. Every corner around here just feels like a challenge, as that's not been good. The game wants me to use a flashback. No, thank you. We're still 6 tenths up at the moment. I don't like that. That needs to be scrapped. Obviously, this is the first video we're doing on the new 1.05 patch. But we're still 6 tenths up. We need to keep it nice and tidy through the Casio triangle. We might be able to get past Grosjean. Ride the curbing. Take as much curb as we dare. Try and get the power nice and tidy. It's going to be about a 7-8 tenth improvement. But it's not going to be good enough for Q2. It is only P20 still. So not a good qualifying for ourselves here from Suzuka. But yeah, race pace might be a little bit better, obviously, in the wet there. The Mercedes 25s. That is absolutely incredible there. Charles Leclerc up in P3 ahead of Perez. Near enough a second off those runners there. But in the end, we were only a quarter of a second off our teammate Jordan King. So all this stuff we're saying about how he needs to get good maybe coming back to bite us slightly at the moment. But yeah, like I said, this is just such an AIOP track. We probably should have had a little bit of a configure with the AI for this one. But it's both Haas, both of the 212 Motorsport cars, and both Williams going out in Q1. You can see both Alpha Towers and both Alfa Romeos getting through there. So I'm sure they're happy with that. But not a good qualifying session. We're still a second clear of the Williams, however. Let's see if a damp track can make us a little bit stronger. Let's do it then. Ready here for the Japanese Grand Prix.
We come to you live today from the Mie Prefecture in the south of Japan's Honshu Island for a race that has seen many title deciders over the years. Some simple, some controversial, but all contributing to a legacy that makes the Japanese Grand Prix an indispensable stop in any Formula One season. We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at a wet and windy Suzuka circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with Sector 1 likely to prove especially difficult in these conditions. We should see overtaking into turns 1 and 16 today, and maybe a few Kobayashi-style dives into the hairpin as well. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen, and Ricciardo, Albon, Perez, Stroll, and Esteban Ocon, Sainz, Gasly, Lando Norris, and Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Magnussen, Jordan King, and Roman Grosjean. Mr. Monaco, Latifi, Russell, and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Okay, it's Jeff here. All systems are looking good for the start. Let's try and get off the line well, okay?
So here we are then, ready on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix, and actually getting moved up one spot thanks to Danny Kvyat, who had a very, very good Russian GP with some penalties this weekend. It's meant to be wet to dry, so that might make things a little bit spicy towards the end of this one. Do you remember the last time we had a wet to dry series in this wet to dry race in this series? Yeah, we've only had one so far, and that was Monza. Safe to say that went quite well for us. I am by no means expecting a result like that today, though, starting here in Russia. But we'll wait and see as to how we can get on. Obviously, I said Russia, I mean Japan. But yeah, let's focus on just getting a car around Suzuka 27 times as quickly as we dare. That is the aim this weekend. That's all really Formula 1 is when you break it down that much. But hopefully we can try and keep the Inters in good nick. Maybe if the dry weather comes a little bit early, if we get a couple of safety cars, maybe we can get them to the dry period, but I'm not too optimistic about that. I am optimistic though, however, that hopefully we can move forward in this Grand Prix. I'm ready on the grid then, hopefully you guys are as well. Let's just dive right into this thing. We've got Roman Grosjean, the man that's leaving Formula 1, and our teammate Jordan King right in front of us. It's 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Ooh, decent start. Or at least on Roman Grosjean, that is. Everyone in front of us just sort of moving around, trying to find some good track space as we head down in towards turn 1. Maybe we can try and find some room around the outside. Jordan tries to slam the door shut on us, however, as we just understeer a little bit wide through the first corner. A bit of a snag break down in towards turn 2 there, as I think one of the Williams, oh my god, one of the Williams was getting a bit optimistic. That was Latifi who tried to stick the nose up the inside, but we've held on to our grid position just about in the end. It appears that Kvyat and Russell trying to go side by side out of the first sector, but we've survived. We haven't made any places, despite looking like we might have been able to on Roman Grosjean here, but everyone just trying to settle down into a rhythm off the start. Maybe a bit of a look, oh my god, an accidental look up the inside of 3 cars. we'll have it. Thank you very much. We're past our teammate, we're past Grosjean, and we might be past Raikkonen. Trying to get the power down on the exit. Feels very, very damp at the moment on these inters. You know, first time running on them all weekend for ourselves, but we've just running a little bit wide through Spoon there. The team happy that we made up 2 places off the start. As now, let's see if we can make a bit of a breakaway from our teammate Jordan King. Valtteri Bottas, title leader, still on top at the end of lap 1. Mercedes, every single weekend at the moment, just look a little bit more comfortable at the top of the championship. But Hamilton, however, he needs to start winning races again if he wants to obviously take points out of his teammate Bottas at the moment. A safety car, though, is always looking to try and change these Grand Prix, and so far, it's had some sort of effect on basically every race this season. However, we don't need to worry about that at the moment. Everyone's on the same strat as of right now. We, however, need to focus on getting past Raikkonen. Oh, very, very brave through 130R. We're going to try and go full send up the inside of Raikkonen at the end of lap 3. Given the room around the outside, no. Raikkonen bails out of it. So we're to P16 of the race. The AI don't seem so OP in the race trim, but that being said, normally we seem to get a little bit better after qualifying. This car definitely suits sort of its race pace at the moment, but yeah, still just about able to hang on to the coattails of the guys around us, just as long as we make no mistakes. Next up, Magnussen. On to the end of lap 6, start of lap 7. We've closed down the gap to Kevin Magnussen here, but yeah, still just Suzuka is one of those horrible places. There's not really many places to go for overtakes, and especially now with the dirty air, that might be made even more difficult. We'll see if we can try and open up a move anywhere around this track, in all honesty. Come on, still all over the back of Magnussen. As we head down into 130R, we're going to have to be brave through here, keep it basically pinned. A little bit of a blend. Oh my god, that's not what we had in mind. Breathe. We've held on to it. Holy moly, that was up there with our save at Spa a few races ago. Right. And we go again. So just radioing over to Jeff there. It's actually Raikkonen now. Having a look back at the inside of us as we reach the third way stage of this Grand Prix. The Alfa Romeo's completely mugged us down in towards turn 1. We've had a horrible run through the corner. Jordan tries to have a look past us as well, but we hold on just in front of our teammate here. But yeah, Jeff just saying the rain's only meant to be here for about another 10 minutes. So it does beg the difficult strategy question of whether we try and drag these tyres out a few extra laps and then pit in, or whether we just accept that we're going to need fresh rubber at some point. Tyres are still only at about 36% wear, as we take way too much curve through there. Only 32% wear, actually. And they're all wearing pretty evenly, which is good. So, yeah, we just need to make a decision. We'll keep a track on what the rain's doing, but it definitely does seem to be getting a little bit drier than when we began. Just asking Jeff again, and he's saying the rain's still going to be here for about another 10 more minutes. So what I'm thinking is I don't really think there's much chance we're going to be able to take these tyres any further than sort of lap 18, based on the wear. So we might as well dive it in now, try and get a cheeky undercut, if possible, on a lot of the runners around us, have some fresher rubber, and then get it worn in by the time they all dived in for their pit stops. Make sure we get it slowed down just about on the marks. So yeah, we're going to go on to a fresh set of inters, hopefully be able to get round Raikkonen again, and then hopefully a bit closer to Magnussen and Giovinazzi. But this, yeah, if it dries up quite quickly, then it could be a bit of a, you know, it might not work out so well, but I don't think the AI are really going to try and gamble the strategy particularly long as well. So we may as well go for it and just see if we can get a bit of an undercut. Oh, Grosjean with issues. Doesn't look like it's yellow flags though. So we're not going to get a safety car as soon as I pit, luckily. It's taken us less than 2 laps to get all over the back of Latifi here. We've taken about 5 seconds out of him. So when you exclude obviously the fact that we're about a second lap quicker anyway on raw pace, we're still about 1.5 seconds a lap faster than the AI around us at the moment, so it's looking alright. It's just a case of when does the dry period come as we get a little bit loose through 130R. Are we going to see Latifi in, or is Russell at the road going to be in? And more importantly, have we been able to get a bit of an undercut on people? Can we try and get the power down around Latifi? Look at that, a new PB for the Grand Prix, a second and a half quicker than we've been. There is Raikkonen, so we've been able to get past the Alfa Romeo again as Latifi just doesn't have the grip in towards turn 1. A bit of a brave move around the outside, but we pulled it off. Now, maybe we'll be able to get past Magnussen as well, as we've already got 2.6 over Raikkonen. This strat seems to be paying off at the moment. It's just how well these tyres last throughout the entirety of this stint. Pretty much the rest of the AI then diving into the pit lane. Hopefully we might be able to get round another couple of cars if possible. We've been still looking very, very quick at the moment as we try and get the power down at the final corner. A couple of low 1 minute 40s. We have been able to get around Magnussen as well there, so that's fantastic. And we're now all over the back of Giovinazzi, who, remember, will have cold tyres as well this lap, so we should have a bit of extra grip over the other Alfa Romeo. But, I mean, this has worked out really, really nicely for us. The safety car now would be quite good, I'll be honest. But now it's a case of trying to gamble onto the dries at the correct time. If, that's a big if it gets dry enough, quick enough in this race. Let's see if we can line up a move on Gio. 10 laps to go then, here from Suzuka. The track, you can see there's no rain now on the circuit, but it's just a case of waiting and seeing when the track does get dry enough for the call over onto some slick rubber. We are going to be going softs to the end if possible, but yeah, we just need to try and keep our head down and keep it on the island at the moment, because as the track starts to get dry, you may get a little bit overconfident, as Magnussen and Raikkonen are starting to take a lot of time out of me as well. We need to be careful of those guys behind. Coming on towards lap 20, and these tyres are absolutely falling off the cliff here. Raikkonen is trying to have a bit of a look past us once again. Magnussen has completely dropped off. He had some issues with his car as well here, so it's all kicking off with just 8 laps to go here from Suzuka. However, I just don't think it's dry enough yet to be moving on to a set of these soft compounded tyres, but it can't be much more than sort of a lap or two away. You can see a little bit of spray being kicked up as Raikkonen into the pit lane there. So is Raikkonen actually going for the strategy call that we expected from him? We got yellow flags out. That appears to be one of the Williams pulling to the wayside as well here. Are we going to get a late safety car, Nicholas Latifi? Yes, we are. Another safety car in another Grand Prix. So obviously Jeff just reminding us to keep the delta positive. We are going to come in onto softs and see if the track gets dry enough. Maybe we can make a bit of a strategy call out of this. Unless, of course, obviously everyone else goes for it. Jeff just came over the radio saying we're not a million miles away from the dries, as the puddles are definitely clearing, but we're going to go against his wishes. We're going to dive it in now. I've got to pray the safety car is 3 laps, to be honest, but yeah, we are going to try and go for the gamble. It didn't quite work out of Russia, as we barely get the car stopped in time into the pit lane, but we've just got to go for it here. I don't really see us losing out too much. It's definitely a little bit of spray still on the circuit, but if the safety car's out for another 2-3 laps, then it should be okay. On to a set of the dry compounded tyres. Will we stay out ahead of Grosjean? It doesn't look like it, but we should still be ahead of Raikkonen in this Grand Prix. Let's just see if the track dries up enough. End of lap 23. Jeff still saying inters. That's not reassuring at the moment. We've got 4 laps to go here from Suzuka. The team, though, however, have been on the radio saying they're not too sure which tyre's the one to be on. So we've got 4 laps to go. If the AI don't pit, we're probably screwed. If they do pit, who knows what's going to be possible inside the final few laps of this race. We need to keep it on the island and keep it tidy. That's the main aim. A little bit of spray still being kicked up by a couple of cars. But yeah, this restart might be incredibly tough for ourselves. Prepare to resume racing once again, though. Here from the legendary Suzuka circuit. The AI aren't pitting in. Let's see how our dries compare to their wets out of the final corner. Being very, very careful on the power, but we just need to try and keep it clean and tidy and pray that all these guys on the inters still helps our dries out. As someone tried to have a look at the inside, that was Raikkonen, thinking about going for a send in towards turn 1. They're not feeling too bad, I'll be honest. They're feeling about the same level as the inters, and you can see already, as we head through the S's here, obviously these guys all on destroyed inters as well, I hasten to add. Now look at the run. We're able to get on Roman Grosjean here out of the S's. This seems to be paying off. You can see Grosjean there. The team's saying it's paying off for us. Can we try and have a bit of a look? No, we can't quite make the move work there. So it doesn't look like their inters are completely had it. But they are nowhere near as quick as our dries at the moment. Up the inside, in towards the hairpin. Make sure we don't go into the back of our teammate. But we have got so much more grip than all of these inters runners. Now this is where it starts to pay off. To the outside of our teammate Jordan King, even on the grass. But we're still able to pull the move off. Down in towards Spoon. Surely everyone is just going to be pouring into the pit lane at the end of this lap. We're just 3 to go. Here at Suzuka, this just seems absolutely crazy. This is Winkelhock levels of insanity at the moment here. Like I said, we've got 3 laps to go. Are we going to see the front runners dive into the pit lane at the end of this one? It doesn't appear that they are, as we almost just about go into the back of Magnussen there. Bottas stays out. Kvyat, though, costing us a bit of our front wing as the AI just so early on the brakes there. We got yellow flags out up the road. That's Verstappen pulling to the wayside, so not what the Dutchman needs here at Suzuka. Heartbreak for him, but are the AI trying to go to the end of this Grand Prix? Despite the front wing damage, I don't think we'll be losing out all too much to most of these guys. Verstappen, though, I'm pretty certain he's out. There we go, just confirmation from the FIA. Verstappen out of the Japanese Grand Prix here, but can we continue making progress? Because if the AI don't pit, I mean, the track's getting drier, so we should be able to just walk all around them, but I'm not too optimistic still. Maybe they'll be able to hold on, especially sort of the front runners, because potentially now we might be a big threat in this Grand Prix again. I said at the start, changeable conditions, I didn't have much hope for us, but if we continue making risky but successful strategy calls as we got the inside of Kvyat there, it's not looking too shabby for us. Oh, a lot of wheel spin on the exit of the hairpin there. That might allow, yeah, it does allow Kvyat straight back past us here as we head down into Sector 3. Perhaps we don't quite have the momentum that I thought we did. Just a harsh reminder from the game. But yeah, we are so much quicker than these guys at the moment on the traction zone. As you can see just there, Danny Kvyat struggling to put the power down out of Spoon. We're going to be able to have a look right around the outside in towards 130R now. Are we going to see the AI diving into the pits? 130R completely flat? No. The Mercedes opt to stay out for another lap here, so it looks like we're going to have to make all the moves count on the track. We're in for a crazy final 4 laps here. Around the outside of Giovinazzi, once again on the grass. We make the move work, and we can set a purple final sector as well as Giovinazzi going to try and keep the nose up the inside, down in towards turn 1. No chance of that, matey boy. As every lap at the moment, our advantage over the AI is just getting bigger and bigger. Those inters are not going to be able to last much longer if the track continues to get dry. But for them, everyone's in the same boat. So if none of them pit, none of them really lose out here. However, there's a good chance we could try and get some points on the board through a turn. Well, I don't know what turn that is. Through the end of the S's. Look at the grip and the speed. We're able to get over the AlphaTauri here, in through Degner 1. Switch to the inside, a bit of an aggressive move, but we've pulled it off. Up in a P12 of the Grand Prix. Just 2 places outside the points now. How much more can we get out of this Grand Prix? This is quite possibly, I think, the craziest final few laps I've ever had in an F1 career mode. I'll be honest, this is just absolute insanity at the moment. The AI seem to have good top-end speed, but nothing on the brakes, as that's a bit of an aggressive move on Lando Norris, but we've got to make every move count at the moment. A little bit more front wing damage as well is probably not helping our case. Now, is Bottas going to dive in at the end of this lap? Surely, with 1 lap to go, it's just not worth diving it in at this late stage of the Grand Prix. That is way too much grass through the final corner. No, the AI go into the end here. So it looks like if we want points, we're going to have to make the moves work on the road. 1 more to go here from Suzuka. We've got such a pace advantage absolutely everywhere Where can we make moves? New fastest lap of the Grand Prix. I'd take the bonus point as well, if we can have it. Down in towards turn 1. Not quite able to get close enough to Sainz, but you can just see how slow they are through the corners. Out traction him on the exit, up the inside. We're up into the points, up inside the top 10 of this Japanese Grand Prix. Next up, Stroll. He's 1.8 up the road. How long will that gap remain as big as it is, though? My guess is not very long at all. As we head out of the first sector, once again, we're still taking time at the racing point absolutely everywhere at the moment. Can we try and get something done, though, inside the final few corners of this race? We've pretty much taken half the gap out of him into the hairpin, a bit deep on the brakes. It's been a sloppy last few laps. I would have loved to know what we would have done had we not gone into the back of Kvyat and into the side of Lando Norris. But Stroll, once again, going to be a sitting duck down in towards Spoon up the inside of the racing point. We're up to 9th place of this Grand Prix, and really, with 7-8 laps to go, we had no chance of scoring points here. We absolutely did not deserve them with just sort of 7-8 laps to go when this safety car came out, but it has played off absolutely beautifully for ourselves. We made up about 10 places inside 4 laps, up the inside of Ocon. Very, very aggressive, but it will be P8 by the looks of it at the end of the Grand Prix, and had this race been 2-3 laps longer, what more could we have had out of it? New fastest lap at the end as well.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
The Mercedes team pulled out a fantastic performance today. They should be proud. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. More points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So there we are then, the end of the Japanese Grand Prix, and you can see Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc and Vettel 1, 2, 3, 4 where they started in the race there. It really does go to show just how difficult it is to try and make moves work around this Grand Prix circuit. Albon, I'm sure he won't be too disappointed with P5 there after another rough few races in recent weeks. Ricciardo 6th, Sergio Perez in 7th, and myself from 19th on the grid up to 8th place there, and I think we were 18th by the time the safety car came in. So I apologise for leaving so much of the end of the race there in, but let's be fair, it warranted it. That is by far and away the craziest final 4 laps I've had on any F1 series we've done so far. F1 2020 once again doesn't fail to deliver there. 5 points on the board, our first fastest lap bonus point as well, by over a second over anyone else. We will take rather happily when all is said and done there. Ocon and Lance Stroll round out the point scorers there. As you can see, both McLarens just missing out after we were able to knock Sainz out of the points with just 1 lap to go there. Norris, Gasly, Gio, Kvyat, Jordan, King, Grosjean, Raikkonen, Magnussen, Russell, and then both Verstappen and Latifi not able to get to the flag there. Means championship-wise, Charles Leclerc back ahead of his teammate Sebastian Vettel, so the top 4 in that Grand Prix, and now the top 4 in the championship in the same order. Other swappers, Sergio Perez up into 10th place past Carlos Sainz, just 1 point now behind Daniel Ricciardo as well. As you can see, Charles Leclerc getting past Sebastian Vettel as well. No other swappers by the looks of it. And in the Constructors' Championship, Renault move ahead of McLaren once again there to best of the rest at the moment. There, as you can see, all three Renault-powered cars still separated by just 20 points at the moment. We've got 4 races to go, 3 in the Americas, and then obviously Abu Dhabi being the finale of the championship. It is all to play for still, with just a few races to go. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back tomorrow, I think, for the US Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.